Are you ready to perform at your highest potential? Welcome to the Performance Matters podcast from GP Strategies, your talent transformation partner. In each episode, we'll interview industry experts and explore best practices and innovative insights to help your organization improve performance.
The third one is one I'm really interested in here, Sanchita, and that was render. So usually when I think of render, I think of glue factories, quite frankly. I'm sure you weren't thinking of that in terms of AI. So what do you mean by render?
The render is rendering any task. So, generative AI is able to do all kinds of natural language processing oriented tasks. It can summarize, it can compose, it can evaluate, it can translate, and it can even do tasks like auto GPT tasks, right? Research an account, then write an email, then go ahead and put that information into the CRM, make API calls, and then go ahead and report to the manager. So all of these cascading tasks, if it is set up in a way for with the right context, it can it can hyper automate processes, and that is where the real importance out here is, because when you hyper automate, you don't know where it is failing because everything is happening in volume. So it is really important. While it's a very exciting idea that you can do any of those tasks, you need to now have what we do is an alternate model that's evaluating every output. And even if it is the evaluation model is, built on a different model than the execution model, so that as soon as the evaluation model is tighter and has lesser tolerance, it can stop some of those, toll gates, stop those activities in the toll gates and help you evaluate. So it's very important that while you can train it to generate a lot of content, that you can train it to do a lot of tasks, you need to have, as Matt was saying, guardrails, but now you're really having guards, right? That they are sitting evaluating. For instance, we are doing translations, but if there is a human involved, great, absolutely, we should have that. It's called the reinforcement learning through human feedback, RLHF, in the generative AI world. But you need to have human in the loop. That's not optional at this time. But at the same time, even human in the loop, they will really start getting overwhelmed. So you need to have an AI companion also queuing and regressing through all of those toll gates to at least tell the human counterpart that these are high risk outputs. You need to test these first before you release.
Interesting. So let me just ask a practical question when it comes to these human conversations. For example, within the learning and development or talent development world, what would be a practical example of render? How are you seeing that play out in within this world?
I will provide a very exciting example that we have that we've come across and we've implemented. So the L&D, in my mind, does these four things. First, needs analysis. Second is, after you do the needs analysis, you get content and get all the research to write the content. Then you go ahead and create the content, and then you deliver the content. Now, let me go ahead and give an example how the entire thing can be rendered through generative AI. But then, of course, you need the guards and you need, inputs from humans. So I'll give you an example of sales. So where is the need coming from? The biggest need salespeople have is when they are stuck on a deal. So if I have a recommendation engine that first identifies which deals are a salesperson stuck in, and then say, hey, here's another guy who has sold a similar deal in the last 30 days. Do you want to chat with him? So first, I've identified the need. Second, I need content. So now I'm connecting the two, and the best person who sold similar deals is now generating content and giving feedback as to how he won the deals, which competitors did they win against, what was the value proposition. So field is generating content, and now how do you deliver the content? You can go ahead and deliver right, you DM the person who really needs help that, hey, here is some inputs. But now, if so many people have started giving feedback on similar deals, now you can take all of them and generate learning content. And okay, all of these people are talking about talking to C-level executives. And now let's go ahead and summarize all the best practices and generate learning content. So all of these four things are happening autonomously. The needs analysis, content generation, content composition, and delivery, all in the context of delivering to that need at that point of need.
So you're saying on a very meat and potatoes level here, if I was an account executive and I might receive a ping or a notification or a chat thread in one of the many things that we discussed, like a Salesforce, something like that, and it might actually be a proactive little note coming in saying, "Hey, it looks like you have an opportunity here with Acme Incorporated, and here's," it would actually unpack a real-time recommendation for me or share some support or insight. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, absolutely. And what it is
Okay,
doing
that's
is,
not terrible. That sounds pretty useful.
yes,
Looks like you're doing some things here, Sanchita. I mean, that's not bad. Pretty impressive. Matt, what's your perspective on this? I mean, being more of our cautionary tale representative here today, what are some things that we need to be thinking about?
Well, no, I mean, I think what this gets down to is understanding the work that you're trying to do. And I think it starts with understanding what you heard, Sanchita, was breaking down what are some of the key tasks that we do. And you look at as we look at that value chain, where does AI give us a force multiplier? And then we move the humans into the different position. But it really starts with understanding what the work is. If you don't understand what the work is, it is really hard. Then you're just coming in randomly applying AI. We have inflated expectations of what it can do. We then, work out things that are challenges. I mean, one of the things that we're exploring and having a lot of really robust conversations is like the translation process. And machine-based translation has been out there. You go out to Google, pop a word in, and it comes back with it. But human translation already has an error rate that's with it. No matter how native speakers in these areas, even if it's translation glossary, a lot of these things are still errors. But you still have to take a step back and look at what is the overall workflow. Where can AI help us say even get to 80% faster, so then the humans can come in and add more value and get to 100%, rather than just saying, hey, is it going to take all of it? What parts will it take? So unpacking, repacking, translating, how will that work across all the elements? I think where I come back into this, it's not just an AI is this blanket layer that goes all over. You got to really understand what the workflow is and where the humans in the work will do that, and be really, I think, open to the possibility of what AI can do, but also very cognizant of where its limitations are and where we need the humans. I mean, that's the biggest thing about it. I mean, the upside is people often ask me, especially in the L&D space, is like, AI going to take my job? And my answer is, well, it depends on how you approach your job. There are things that AI are good at. It is great at crunching through large amounts of data. It can generate things at scale. It can, put, accurate answers out there, assuming that the set is good, reducing errors and its flow through rate. It can actually do that. But when it comes to curiosity, creativity, critical thinking, adaptability, ethical judgment, AI is not good at that. But that forces humans to actually step into the promise of being a human. So if you do your job and you're not really critically thinking or being curious or bringing creativity to it, or problem solving, I would say you might be a little more worried than the other folks that are doing that other side.
Right, exactly.
So,
Okay. Well, that makes sense. And I think the word I'm going to take away from your end of it is force multiplier. I mean, everything that you both have described is AI has the chance to be a force multiplier, but that force starts with the humans. It starts with true knowledge of your industry, and then it's the going back to the snowball effect. There's so much there.
The Performance Matters podcast is brought to you by GP Strategies. Together, we can create a world where business excellence makes possibilities achievable. You can subscribe to the show anywhere you get podcasts or listen on our website at gpstrategies.com.